Welcome back. So in today's video, I'm going to be speaking about the top 10 things you should know about before coming to Japan. Some of you guys may know that I've lived in Japan for almost 2 years and I've lived in the center of the city. But first, when I came to Japan from the US, there were so many things I didn't understand or know. So I'd like to share with you guys the top 10 things that I wish someone told me before I visited. And if you enjoyed the video, please click the like button and subscribe to stay more informed to the videos. So first things first, let's talk about cash in Japan. So probably a lot of you are coming from modern countries and you have the expectation that you can use credit cards anywhere you go. But here in Japan, there aren't a lot of places that accept credit card. Strange, right? Because who wants to carry around all this cash in their pocket? But in reality, there are a lot of people who still carry cash here. In fact, I usually have 10 to 20,000 yen, which is the equivalent of about $100 to $200 in my pocket at all times. But before I get into it, let me share with you the places that do accept credit cards. So for example, major department stores and retailers, middle to upper end restaurants and convenience stores, amusement parks, and airports. But the ones that don't are small mom and pop restaurants, local bars, street vendors, small retailers, and some taxis. So then, although more and more stores are accepting credit cards these days, even some fast food places don't take credit cards. You should really be careful because you don't want to be stuck in a situation where you're in a foreign country and you're in a restaurant and they don't take your credit card and you have no cash. You know, what will happen? You know, is someone gonna have to stay at the store and the other person has to go to an ATM to withdraw cash? You don't want to be stuck in this environment because you don't want to have the police involved or the law involved as well. But also, if you're planning to travel outside of the city, you definitely need cash. For a local tip, I find that my Visa card works a lot better, and I've seen friends who try to use American Express or MasterCard, but end up being turned down because they don't accept it. Also, if you want to minimize carrying cash around, you can get a Suica or a Passmo card. It requires a deposit of 500 yen, which you can get back. And you can load up the card to as much as 200 US dollars or 20,000 Japanese yen. And so you can use this card in a lot of places, but mainly it's used for train stations. So you don't need to buy a ticket each time, and it automatically calculates the fare when you enter and leave the station. And even if you switch lines between the two train stations, such as Tokyo Metro and the JR line, it'll actually calculate each stop. So if you're interested to understand a more detailed breakdown, you can put the card in the machine, and then if you go to the history, it'll spit out every station that you've been to in the price details. So you can simply tap in and tap out. But you can also use that at convenience stores, street vending machines, taxis, kiosks, some restaurants, shops, and even electronic stores like Big Camera will accept it. So now if you're looking to withdraw cash in Japan, I recommend a few ATMs such as 7-Bank ATM, Japan Post ATM, and Prestea ATM, as these are the best for handling foreign cards. Number 2, eating and drinking while walking on the street. So in many respects, it's considered bad manners to walk and eat at the same time while you're staying in Japan. So even if you get food on the go, such as food from the convenience store, this rule may sound weird to you, but for Japanese people it's considered rude, as eating should be done in an acceptable place, such as a restaurant or your home, and not in public. So if you want to eat and drink, the best thing to do is to stop and chill on the side of the street. Walking and eating won't get you in trouble per se, but you will receive many bad looks from the locals and people who walk past you, as they view you to be inconsiderate. But there are always exceptions, as there are some places called tabearuki, which it is acceptable to walk while eating. One of these places is Tsukiji Market, which is the largest fish market in Japan, and a place I recommend checking out for sure. So these places are intended for people to buy and eat on the go, as they had the expectation that people are just stopping by the stand and then buy something quick and then be on their way in a few minutes. Festivals are another exception. So as more and more shops like Starbucks have started to integrate to-go cups and to-go ordering, you'll start to see the culture change. The reason why the Japanese people don't like walking and eating is because it's considered meiwaku, which means it's bothersome to other people. People are sensitive to the smell and don't want to disturb the environment and the other people in there, such as making a mess or littering. Next, drinking in Japan. So drinking in Japan, I was so surprised when I arrived because people can drink here at 20 years old, and I come from America where the drinking age is 21. So you're able to go to a convenience store and they'll sell you an alcohol beverage as long as you look the age. In fact, there are still beer vending machines on the street and they don't require you any proof of age. So recently in Japan, they've made it a little strict when you're checking out alcohol. And there is a message asking you to confirm that you're above 20 years old on a screen in front of a register. And you simply tap yes to confirm that you're of legal age. And then there's also a button that will confirm that you're not of legal age. And then after that, you pay and you're just good to go. So what do you guys think? Is this too strict or too easy? Let me know in the comments below. Next, tattoos at the onsen. So Japanese onsens, aka hot springs, are one of the coolest experiences you will have in Japan. Unfortunately, many Japanese onsens prohibit people with tattoos from entering the facility because of the stigma associated with the idea of having tattoos in Japan. So to go back in history, the Yakuza, also known as organized crime, will also likely have tattoos across their entire body to symbolize that they're a part of the organized crime affiliation. So a lot of these onsen facilities have developed rules against the Yakuza to enter the onsens or the hot springs. But they don't know who's in the Yakuza. So what they did is they developed rules such as not allowing people with tattoos to enter the onsen because the only people that had tattoos used to be the Yakuza. Although it may sound unfair, it's Japan, and it is what it is. So if you have a tattoo, please make sure to check with the rules of the onsen before entering or making a reservation. So although if you choose an option to enter a private bath or a spa without sharing with other people, then it should be okay as long as you don't show anybody before you enter. Next, Wi-Fi and the internet. So this is always a major concern for travelers. So what you need to know is that all of the major cities like Tokyo have relatively fast internet. And your hostel or your hotel will have great Wi-Fi, so you don't need to worry. But when you leave your stay, there are many other stores that offer free Wi-Fi. So one of those first places is Starbucks. And luckily, they provide all their customers with free Wi-Fi. And there are so many locations through Tokyo and Japan that make it so convenient as a Wi-Fi resource, because if you register on the Wi-Fi in one store, it automatically will connect you to the other stores, so making it less of a hassle, right? And so if you're walking through the city and you figure out how to connect to one of the Starbucks, then you'll be connected to all of them, so you can just continue to bounce from block to block and you're fine. And you don't even need to take a SIM card out. So unfortunately, the speed will depend on how many customers are connected. So you can try other cafes, but they're usually a hit or miss. Number 2, city Wi-Fi. So another free alternative is to use the city Wi-Fi, as it's available at many stations such as Shibuya, Shinjuku, Harajuku, Odaiba, etc. So connecting is fairly easy with no password or account needed. If you want to be connected at all times, then you can go to the paid route and get a SIM card, mobile Wi-Fi box, or call your current phone company and set up a temporary international plan. Next, smoking in Japan. So smoking in Japan might catch a lot of you off guard, especially if you're coming from the US. But if you smoke, then you're in luck, as Japan is the most friendly smoking laws. It seems that the laws will change in 2020 or in 21 to ban smoking publicly outright. First of all, many izakayas, which are sit-down restaurants designed for drinking, allow their customers to smoke throughout the entire space and don't normally provide non-smoking areas. So if you go to certain izakayas, you have to deal with secondhand smoke. And if you aren't a fan of smoking or inhaling smoke as you eat, there are plenty of restaurants that prohibit smoking, so don't worry. Family restaurants will provide separated spaces, but some of those places have 2 different rooms, but don't do a good job of isolating the 2. So make sure to do your research if smoke is an allergy for you. When I first arrived in Japan, I was so surprised to learn that smoking inside is allowed, but outside is prohibited. It makes a lot more sense when you see how crowded the streets are on a daily basis, so having specific areas can be beneficial. The last thing you want is to inhale secondhand smoke as you're outside going about your normal life. Also, the city provides a map with smoking areas outlined. Number 7, riding the train. So if you've seen any crazy videos about Japan, then you've probably seen the trains that are super packed with people and train conductors pushing people inside. So let me tell you, the struggle is real, especially during rush hour, and the peak times are from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., and then later in the day from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. during the weekdays. So it's best to avoid using the train during these times. The specific train lines will vary in terms of fullness. So if you're in the center of the city, then it might be more congested at all times during the day. So this is just a rough estimate. Also, what a lot of travelers don't know is that the first and the last cart are women only during the weekday mornings. And this is because Japan has had a problem in the past with men groping women during rush hour. So when you're traveling around rush hour, be on the lookout for pink signs both on the train cart and on the floor below. Number 8. One of the things I absolutely love about Japan is the non-tipping culture. So what I mean by that is that when you go to a restaurant or take a taxi, the price on the bill is the same price that you will ultimately pay. So what I mean by that is when you go to a restaurant or take a taxi, the price on the bill is the price that you'll actually pay. So you save so much time and awkwardness calculating the tip, and the service is always good regardless. There's one thing you need to know, and that there can sometimes be a table charge known as otoshidai. Prices vary from place to place and can be anywhere from 300 to 500 yen per person. This is uncommon, but just be on the lookout, as the server will bring you a small plate of food when you sit down. When you see this small dish, then you'll know that there's a small fee involved, but it's usually just around $3 to $4, so it's not so troubling. It's actually very Japanese in a way, where they'll have you pay for a table charge, but then they'll give you something in return, which is usually a decent quality snack. General, if it's like a larger restaurant such as ramen, then you don't need to worry about it. Number 9, sightseeing on foot. So even though Tokyo is a dense city with a convenient transportation system, expect to be walking more than you think, especially coming from the US, where most citizens are used to driving. So you should attempt to exercise more before your trip so you can have more energy to see as many places as you can during your stay. To maintain your energy throughout your time here, it's important to stay hydrated, and I recommend carrying a bottle of water while you're out and about. Many hotels will offer complimentary drinks, and in addition, you can just go to a convenience store that's usually on every block and pick up a 1 or 2 liter water bottle and just carry around with you during your time. And they're pretty cheap. They're only about $1. Number 10, cooperate with the police. This may seem to be a no-brainer when you're coming to a foreign country, but you need to understand that the laws are different in Japan compared to your home country, and how the police interpret these laws. So whatever rights you think you have from your own country may be put on hold while you're traveling. So for instance, when it comes to privacy, the police have the right to stop you and ask you for your ID, and ask questions if they think you look suspicious. So it might sound ridiculous, but that's just how it is, and if you don't cooperate, then there's a high chance that you can get in trouble and be put into a holding cell. In my personal experience, I've only been stopped one time in the last 2 years by the police. And so while it is quite rare, you always need to have some form of personal identification on you. And unfortunately, your driver's license doesn't count, so you're going to need to carry your passport. But carrying your passport does always involve risks, such as losing it. So it's usually fair just to carry a copy of it. So if you have a photo on your phone or on your computer that you have with you, then that's fine. So most likely they won't bring you trouble because you're a foreigner who may not speak the language. So it would bring them a lot more trouble and a lot more hassle. So my advice is always err on the side of caution, because you have many people who come to a foreign country, including Japan, and they treat it like it's someone else's home when they go to a party, right? And they don't care how it is because they're just gonna leave, and they're not responsible for cleaning it up. So it is important that you treat this place with respect, because not only is it someone else's home, but But if you break something, or if you cause a little bit of trouble, it can escalate and bring you so much more trouble during your stay. Hey guys, thank you for listening. If you liked the video, subscribe. So it turns out 95% of my viewers aren't subscribed. So if you're listening, please subscribe down below and stay tuned for more videos. Thanks.